Joined by St. Cloud State baseball head coach Pat Dolan on the bench warmers on AM 1450 FM 103.3. Coach, you get a win to survive. I mean, you didn't make it easy. The team didn't make it easy, having to go through the losers bracket. What makes them able to do that, to come back and win on those elimination type games?
Well, they know if they don't, they're done. And that's a great team over there. Coach Huber, for a 9-3 game, it sure didn't seem 9-3. I think we had 18 hits and we left about 15 guys on base. But, we knew going into this after we lost to Bemidji, we had to get the bats going. And, I think that 8th inning against Wayne earlier in the day where we scored 5 runs, I think we had 16 hits the first game, 18 hits here. That's what happens when you get into the 4th, 5th, 6th pitchers too. So if we can continue to do that tomorrow, and the only issue tomorrow, there's supposed to be about a 25-mile-an-hour wind coming straight in, so it's going to be more difficult to score runs. But if we play hit like that with our defense and our pitching that we've been getting, we'll be in good shape.
Now, this season as a whole and your time here, you've built some teams that have pretty strong leadership. This year, talk about your captains and kind of the upperclassmen that you've got on this team that have been through these types of fires before.
Well, and I hate talking like this as a cliche because every coach loves his seniors. They've been here 5 years. Most of these guys, Imholt, Riesgraf, who's not playing at all this year with his arm, Scotty Leeser, Hansen, Carview, Rendelab, Sather. These guys came when St. Cloud State wasn't, a top team in the nation, and they deserve the credit, not Pat Dolan or our coaching staff. They came in. It makes recruiting so much easier now when you're winning 40 games a year, and I love those guys. Couldn't be happier for them, and it's nice to get that honored regular season championship, and hopefully we can get another set of T-shirts here on Sunday.
Talk about the regular season championship. It's a season that, from the outside, you could certainly say there was plenty of adversity with the way the weather went. Did you see it as adversity or just something to play through?
Adversity, yes, absolutely. But, we don't use excuses, and you get bad lemons, you make lemonade out of it. And, the one negative that last weekend we got rain again up in Bemidji, and we had to use Scotty Leeser on 3 days, and we had to use Kubitz on 3 days. And those guys are both power guys that, usually we like to give them 5 or 6 days off between starts. And what happened then, it didn't set our rotation up for, date is Wednesday of the conference tournament, and a good Bemidji team that we just, beat 3 out of 4 times. They handed it to us pretty good. But what you're seeing now is some of our top pitchers thrown in games 3 and 4, which I think that was probably the difference. But now we're back to, number 4, 5, 6 like everybody else. And Bemidji doesn't have much left. We don't have much left, but we got a couple young guys that we're going to throw out there, and we'll see what happens.
Talking with head coach Pat Dolan about the Huskies' run so far in the NSIC Tournament and the regular season as a whole. You guys, with the weather and some of that adversity, had to go down to Missouri to schedule some games, kind of not necessarily on a whim, but how big was that to go play some ranked teams, even though you came back with a couple of losses, just a big series to go get? Well,
people say, because we were supposed to play Winona that weekend, and, long story short, it didn't work out to play then. We had snow here. Couldn't play, so... a lot of people say, well, why'd you go all the way down there to play those games? Because we were number 1 in the region at the time. And my philosophy, even though it wasn't in the game plan to come back 1 and 2, it was the game plan to go down there and get better, see what the best teams in the region are like. And, even though we lost 5-3 to Missouri Western, we played on their field, which they might host it, a regional, or Mankato might host it. But, the only way you get better and to be able to win championships at the next level is to play the best teams. And I think we've shown that. We've played across the country, we've played some of the best teams. And, you're not going to beat Augie every time. You're not going to beat Mankato every time. You're not going to beat Missouri Western every time. And, it was a long ride home, 10 hours being 1 and 2. But it was a beneficial ride because that was, at the time, I think we were 23-2 going into that deal. And, we lost a couple games. That was our only really bad weekend of the year. And hopefully it's our only bad weekend of the rest of the year.
Talking with head coach Pat Dolan. And, Coach, you have a team that has done some amazing things both in the conference, in conference tournaments. What's it take to get over the hump, and do you see this team as having it as far as competing for that towards getting into the World Series?
It's just you got to get some lady luck. You got to have a ball bounce your way. We've been so close. I hate to say. These kids know what they got to do. We haven't even clinched a regional bid yet, and we've been to 2 regional championship games. It's frustrating, being 35-8 or whatever we are, and knowing that we're still fighting for our lives tomorrow just to make the regional. But that says how good teams are in Division II baseball, and there's nothing I got to say, good or bad. A guy makes a mistake, like we talked off the air there, rounding second base. Hey, he didn't do it on purpose. Guys are going to make plays. We're going to make some mistakes. It's just good teams find a way to win, but you also need a little lady luck in the formula. And hopefully this is our year that we can make that jump and win a regional championship. But to be honest with you, we're just worried about winning tomorrow and beating Bemidji. So then I think that game probably locks us into a regional spot no matter what we do with Mankato. But obviously if you win the first one and you play Mankato, they're our number one rival. You want to beat them, and then you get to Sunday and anything happens. But tomorrow's the biggest game of the year is tomorrow against Bemidji, who, not that we have paybacks to them by any means, because they're just a great group of guys, well coached, but they put us in the spot that we're in right now by losing Wednesday. So hopefully we can handle them tomorrow and not knock their season, but just keep our season going.
What's the strategy? You mentioned you're down to the end of the rotation when it comes, but so is everybody. So what's the strategy going into a game knowing you got to win that one? It's the biggest one, but then there's still two more waiting in the wings to get to your goal.
Yeah, we've said that after we lost to Bemidji, we as coaching staff after the game, you talk about pitching rotations and all this, but after that first game against Bemidji, we didn't talk about Saturday, we didn't talk about Sunday, we talked about Thursday, and that's what we got to do. We're not worried about playing Mankato in the championship. We're worried about beating Bemidji to get to the championship. And it's going to be some adverse conditions. This is baseball. This was fun. We had a huge crowd, but tomorrow again, Mother Nature is going to bring that northwest wind in about 25 miles an hour. It's going to be a different type of hitting. We're not going to have 18 hits. Well, I shouldn't say that. Hopefully we do, but when the wind's blowing in that hard, it's just hard to really do a lot offensively. But we're going to give it everything we got, and hopefully get through Bemidji and lock that seed in for the regional.
Talking with head coach Pat Dolan on AM 1450 FM 103.3 KNSI. And finally, Coach, you mentioned it kind of in passing. They're your number one rival. That's Mankato. And you haven't gotten to play them this year just because things went that way. You can't really think about that. But how big would it be to have them standing in your way and the first time you've played them all year?
Well, Coach Moggers is just a great coach. And obviously they got an unbelievable program for a long time. And we've beat them our shares. We've beat them our shares at their place. We've knocked them out of the conference tournament at their place. We've beat them 3-4 at their place, and they've beat us. They've beat us their share of times too. It's just a very competitive rivalry. It's what college baseball and college athletics is all about. We're hoping we get a chance at them. I'm sure they're hoping to get a chance at us. And you got to believe. I think before it's all said and done, we're going to be playing them. Whether it's tomorrow or in the regional, we're gonna face them, and it's always going to be a good game. And it's a fun game. It's what it's all about.
It's funny how that happens. Overheard the Commissioner Bush Raymond talking about how if it's Mankato and St. Cloud State, it doesn't get much better than that for baseball. It doesn't get much better than that for any sport between these two schools, so it could be fun. Coach, got to get the first one, though. Best of luck against Bemidji.
All right, appreciate it.
Head coach Pat Dolan joining us on the Bench Warmers on AM 1450 FM 103.3 KNSI.